What's up, former party people? This is Jerry, you know, the one who actually combs his hair on the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Now, if you're finding value in listening to the AIFA podcast every week and you want to support sharing it with others, we invite you to become a sustaining monthly or per show contributor. Go to patreon.com/AIFA. It's super easy and it only takes a quick moment. It's about as easy as buying one of those pre-cooked space chickens from the grocery store, taking it outside, giving it a big old kiss, and kicking it into traffic. Why would you do that? Anyway, you do you, and I'll do me. Again, go to patreon.com/AIFA. And with that, people, let's start the show.
A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time.
And we're back.
Yes. Welcome to the A is for Alcoholic podcast. My name is John Staley. This is Jerry Wagner.
Hi, I'm Jerry.
To my left or my right.
I love that we had a hard time coordinating a fucking countdown, dude. That was awesome.
Well, welcome to the big show once again. Thank you guys for listening out there. A couple of quick things. If you haven't had a chance to, we would appreciate a rating or a review on iTunes, Google Play, wherever else you listen to this podcast. Please, it helps us get out to more people. You know, I look at the I study a lot of the what do you call them, the podcast analytics, and and it's great. Fridays are awesome. We get tons of people listening on Fridays, and then it slowly dips off. Now granted, that's when the show comes out,
right?
So if you can help us by sharing this with other people, it would be greatly appreciated, and it just helps us get our message out to more people who may need it. We are also brought to you by the Green Camel Press. I just picked up some t-shirts, so we're going to have t-shirts for sale very soon here. Green Camel Press is a design firm that takes an old school aesthetic in a digital age. Go check us out at greencamelpress.com. And anything else, Jerry, from the floor? Any announcements from the floor?
I've been playing a lot of Fallout 76 while everybody's sick.
So how do you feel about it?
I had to take a new approach to it. Everybody hated it, but I treated it like just Fallout 4.5, and I'm having a great time.
Okay.
Running around the wastelands, getting killed by 12-year-olds. It's great.
But I felt like a lot of people told me there's no interaction with like computer people.
No, it's all it's robots, and there's no NPCs. There's no humans, but it's all like robots and weird zombies with guns.
Okay.
It's interesting. There's a lot to it. It's pretty, but it's also pretty shitty too in its own way. So what are you gonna do, man? I play video games and draw my iPad. I'm sponsored by Procreate. I sponsored myself with Procreate on the iPad. That's about it, man.
Okay. So today we wanted to talk about what it means to be a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, that's F, the big fat F.
The big fat F. So I think there's like an actual technical term which means, or a medical term that means somebody who appears to be doing just fine but is, abusing alcohol. I had a list here, and it is...
Damn.
It is recovery. Here we go. And basically, it's just the signs of a functioning alcoholic is, has trouble controlling how much they drink at one time, drinks more than originally planned, jokes about having an alcohol problem, needs alcohol to relax, needs alcohol to feel confident, and it goes on. It denies drinking, hides alcohol. So basically, it just sounds like an alcoholic, right?
Right. Who's not homeless.
And
not that being homeless is bad. Well, no, it's bad. Being homeless sucks.
It sucks.
No, not that I'm making a judgment call on you.
No, but that's how a lot of people, the classic idea of an alcoholic is the guy sleeping on the bench with the brown paper bag. And I just want to make a quick disclaimer before we jump into the conversation, is that Jerry and I talk about this, and I think I can speak for him as well, in that we these are not clinical terms, and we are not clinicians, and so
No.
and there's no alcoholism, as I understand it, as we understand it, is very much a self-diagnosed kind of thing. You can find
Yeah.
it. There are studies, and there's lots of information you can go. I just don't want anyone out there to think that any one of these things, or that we're saying that anybody's an alcoholic who does this, or if you do these things, you are an alcoholic, or whatever.
Right.
You know.
Right. We're just speaking from personal experience.
And that's it. And so that I can just
Yeah.
say from my own experience and from Jerry's experience what it means to be functioning. So
Right.
when you take all the classic signs of alcoholism and then you say, well, what is the thing that people usually say? Like, oh, I pay my bills.
I pay my bills. My wife hasn't left me, or my husband hasn't left me yet.
Mm-hmm.
I got a house.
Everything's fine.
Pay my car note.
I get to work on time. And so it's almost like that the idea of a functioning alcoholic is a barely functioning alcoholic.
Right.
Right. Because for me, alcoholism, it was like everything when I was drinking, when I was active in it, everything revolved around alcohol.
Yeah.
So
that was the focus of your intent.
Sure. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would make it to work barely. I would pay the bills barely. I don't feel like I was thriving in any way. Do you know what I mean? Like if I was a flower, I was not blossoming
Right.
in
right.
any respect. But it was constantly just this sort of low level of waking up hungover, figuring out what I had to do for that day so that I could get back home or get to a bar and drink.
Right. Right.
I didn't have a wife and kids. I don't have a wife and kids, but it just was not really, it was eventually not sustainable. So I think it's sort of a myth when you talk about being a functional alcoholic. At least it was for
Right.
me. You know, there's no, you either are or you aren't in this sort of gray area. And again, man, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're saying, well, I'm not a fucking functioning alcoholic, I'm fine. Maybe you're fine. But it's just that sort of weird idea, this thing that we tell ourselves to be okay
Yes.
with our behaviors.
Correct. And I think the way I think I'd like to feel like to make the distinction between drinking alcoholically and then being an alcoholic as well. I feel like there's a distinction between those, or even being a functional alcoholic. I mean, I've met people in my life who drink alcoholically on occasions, or when they do drink, they drink alcoholically, but then the phenomena of craving isn't really in their life. Do you know what I mean? Until they start drinking. It's not like a thing that they're thinking about constantly, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's the alcoholic where that's, like you said, the focus of intent is how do I get fucked up? You know, like how am I going to get fucking lit today? So I think there's a difference between those two. I think drinking alcoholically, when you do drink, you know, can lead to alcoholism, in my opinion. But, you know, now as far as functioning's a funny word, dude. It's like such a justification, you know, like for... I don't know, man. I've been thinking about this today, right?
When
like let's say, what?
Yeah, well, when you put it in front of something, what if I said that I was you're implying that there's still something wrong, but you're okay with it. I'm not sure. Like, what if am I a functioning? What I'm a functioning racist. You know,
Right,
like
exactly. I was gonna say I'm a functioning pilot.
Yeah,
That means you're a shitty pilot.
Uh-huh.
You're just functioning, right? Yeah.
But like,
I'm a functioning racist.
No, right? Because I don't, you know.
No,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm
yeah.
not. I'm not. But
No,
a
you're
racist.
not.
But
I don't
my
think you
point.
are.
My point is that like, the implication is that I
know
am.
what you mean, yeah.
I am fine with the problem that I have. You know that there is some serious issue that I am overlooking.
Right.
I am in denial. So I mean that's a big one. I get that. I was in denial.
It's the denial thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, I was gonna say, like, if you had a bike, right, and it had no brakes and no reflectors, and like, but it still went straight, like that's technically a functioning bike, even though it's a shitty bike. Do you know what I mean? Like, it technically still functions. It just doesn't doesn't live up to its
That's a much better analogy
potential.
than mine. Like if it was
The bike functions. This Honda Civic, this 93 Honda Civic, it functions. It's got no headlights, but it does its intended purpose. It drives from point A to point B as long as it's not at night.
Right. So it's a matter of that functioning implies that you're in denial of a problem. And that problem is alcohol. That problem is that there's no headlights, and maybe maybe the windows don't work, and the hatchback doesn't come open, and
no, you gotta bungee that shit closed.
You got one donut on the back, and So, I think that it's when I was a quote unquote functioning alcoholic, it was a very miserable existence, and it was not something that I didn't see a way out, and then I also I didn't see it as a problem. Everybody else saw it as a problem, right? It was just, and that's weird for me to look back now, because when those days were happening, when those days of like waking up hungover and trying to either having another drink or having to go deal with whatever, I didn't see any sort of like problem with what I was doing. It was fine because I wasn't hurting anyone else. Right. And I think that too, we as alcoholics, when we're in the throes of it, when we're in the thick of it, we don't realize that people were hurting, man. I mean, it's happening all the time. Whether I was hurting my mother, or who knows what kind of shit you're putting up on social media at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I know what I'm doing.
Dude.
Yeah.
The family members, the friends who perhaps not necessarily you're not going out and, running people over, but maybe you're not getting back to your friends. I mean, all your relationships are being hurt. You know, I know that you were having some serious family issues, domestic issues yourself near the end, man. Because and that was, was what it was about to not function anymore. It was about the dysfunction.
It was exactly. I was saying I was slipping from functioning to non-functioning, but the whole time I was saying, my label was functioning alcoholic. That was still not function. I was technically functioning. It was technically a house. There were 4 walls, a floor, and a roof, but there was no heater, no air conditioner. I keep going back to this analogy, right? But technically, I kept moving forward. I just was miserable the whole time I was moving forward, but telling everybody, this is what I do, dude. I'm a heavy drinker. I function. I'm not homeless. I don't have bed bugs. I'm not my wife is still here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not quite destitute yet. I mean, I'm on the edge of it, but it's that weird disclaimer. It always sits there.
I felt a lot of, you talk about being on the edge of it. I always felt constant anxiety and fear about what I had to do or what I had done the night before or what was ahead of me. There was never any sort of day, there was no daily joy in it.
None. Right.
Everything was painful.
It wasn't even joy. It was that synthetic relief that lasted an hour or two. That fake relief of like the dopamine in your brain going, okay, you got the thing you needed. Now you're all right. You're going to be all right. Get in your little cave. You're going to be safe in here. And I know the cave's full of fucking snakes and shit and bats.
Yeah. And, the other... snakes and bats. The other thing is that when you... when one justifies the alcoholism by saying that it's functional, it allows you to make piss poor decisions that you might not otherwise if you were to accept your disease, or if you were to accept that that you had a problem, then you might not say get behind the wheel of a car when you shouldn't. Yeah. And say, well, I didn't kill anyone this time. I didn't run anybody over this time. And we both know people who have been in what could have been catastrophic car accidents under the influence, and it's terrifying to think. I mean, I can't imagine thinking about, of myself, but thinking of my friend who, might be looking down the barrel of 25 to life or whatever it is for vehicular manslaughter. And that was a person who was probably thought themselves a functioning alcoholic.
Right.
So, and these are labels we give ourselves, and these are things that we as a source of pride almost, right? The functioning part is the pride. The alcoholic, well, I'm just
that's a little edge on the knife. You know what I mean? That's what gives my personality a little edge, is that I'm an alcoholic, but I'm functioning, so I'm safe. You know.
And even if you're functioning, even if you're making you're making it to work on time and you're doing all the things you're supposed to be doing in your life, there's also what about the harm that you're doing to your body? If I'm not, the whole idea of I'm not hurting anyone else, but I mean, it's fucking poison.
Word.
Plain and simple. And I don't say that, I don't say that with any kind of judgment, man. And I want to tell you guys about my Super Bowl too.
Right. Right.
Here, because I really don't. It's you do what you want to do, and everybody should have the ability. But
Pardon me.
It was poison to me, and I was sick all the time, not just with the flu, but always sick in one way or another. I never looked well. The last time I saw my mom, and she's like, "John, you look," and I said, "Better," and she's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, dude.
I
walked into work. Dude, I've been sober maybe 6 months, and I walked into work, and one of my coworkers just looked at me and went, "Fuck, you're pink." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You're not gray anymore, dude. You're pink. You're back to normal skin color again. You're your normal color." Yeah, your liver is functioning at such a hard capacity, dude. You're just redlining it, Woo! Your body's like, "What the fuck?"
And if I think about the last 3.5 years of my life, and one of the things that I got to do in the last job that I had, and I was very fortunate, was I had dental insurance, and I got all my teeth fixed. Right. And there was shit that was cracked. There was shit they had holes in them. I had some serious gum issues. I had some serious gingivitis issues, and
now them shits is straight gold. All your front teeth are gold, true. Man. Little snake diamonds and shit. We're going back to snakes.
But do you know what I mean? It took me 3 years to get my teeth back to normal, and I would suggest to anybody who can get a job with dental insurance to load up on that shit and go cash it in.
If you've been drinking a lot, yeah.
And I mean, especially that was one of the blessings of quitting for me was being able to do something like that. But I didn't realize how much damage I had done to myself.
Yeah. Not
to mention all the weight gain, the weight gain and just not feeling good and not being, it's just really, really awful shit.
Are you, would you say you're functioning now?
I would right? Put myself at high functioning. I would say that I get.
So, no, go ahead, continue. But I have.
Please hold your thought. But I just think that I wake up and I woke up this morning and I was like, oh man, I slept through the whole night. I didn't get up multiple times to either pound a gallon of water because I was so dehydrated. I was able to sleep and I woke up and I felt almost refreshed. I mean, I still was a little groggy this morning after working last night, but I was like, okay. And I just felt like, all right, I have things I'm going to do. I have a plan and I have to get organized because I have to go to the UPS store and I really want to go to the gym. And I got a couple things on the computer that I have to finish and I got it all done.
Yeah.
So.
And you probably enjoyed it a little bit too, man. You're probably I'm being responsible. This feels good. I'm doing something good for my body and my life and my mind here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thought I had was, oh man, bump that. Is that we're both alcoholics in recovery. So would you say we are actually the actual definition of functioning alcoholics? Because we are high functioning alcoholics.
It depends
right?
on your definition of alcoholic. If we're talking
Correct,
recovering alcoholic, then yes, being a functioning recovering alcoholic, being a functioning recovery.
We're FRAs, dude.
Yeah, and so yeah, man, absolutely high functioning. High five, high functioning alcoholic, dude. Yeah. But so Jerry asked me to share about my Super Bowl experience.
Super Bowl, it's been on your mind. So I did nothing. I played Fallout 76 because fuck football. That's why.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now I don't have any. I wasn't rooting for any team. I was working, behind the bar. We had a big buyout for a very wealthy family, so it was basically and they wanted, as they should have, had a they wanted like 6 cases of Budweiser and 6 cases of Bud Light, and we have margaritas on special, so it was that kind of night. And I noticed tons of food, like tons of like sliders and chicken wings and brownies and cupcakes and pizza, man.
Man,
There was
that shit sounds awesome.
it sounds awesome. And I'm kind
Yes.
of so I can't really mess with any of the food because I'm trying to lose some weight, and I'm trying to be smart, and I'm trying to be good, and it looked awesome. But the thing that really struck me last night was seeing people come in, and I've been, those of you who've listened before know that I've mentioned this a couple times, that I've been a bartender for something close to 15 years. And it gets to the point where I can almost see these people come through, and just like I can pick up, like I was telling Jerry, I felt like I was an alcoholic empath. Like I could pick up on their kind of pain and sadness almost right away, and this sort of, and I would look over and you see like the one girl in her 30s, and she's got, sitting there by herself, and she drinks her vodka soda, and she has 1 and then 2 and then 3, 4, and 5 come really, really quick. They always start off slow, and her and her husband aren't really talking to each other, but they're just sitting there, and it's kind of awkward. And then there's the old guy who's super loud and boisterous and drinking the double whiskey on the rocks, and he's, so it's a very patriarchal figure who, in my mind, reminds me of myself. But that idea of a man who's loud and drunk and boisterous to kind of mask the insecurity and the fear. And I start seeing all these different types of drunks and people that come in. And again, man, a lot of people come in and they like to have a good time, and you want to get caught up on Super Bowl Sunday, and maybe you got the Super Bowl flu the next day. That's cool. That's like once a year. But when I just see these people all the time, and so it was just this sort of being able to pick up the vibe on certain people. It was just you that something's not sitting right with them, and especially me going like, okay, I've had like 3.5 years sober, and I've been tending bar all this time, most of it, and it's just such a trip. And Jerry made a joke. He's like, dude, you're like an alcoholic ghost hunter. And
you're like that Arquette, what's that show, Medium, but with like alcoholics. They just talk to you from the past, except they're right in front of you.
And then this one guy comes up to me, and it's the end of the night, and he's been drinking, I don't know, multiple. I think his was like Hendrix and ginger beer. It was like gin and ginger beer, something weird.
Damn.
Something kind of.
They weren't bad, but yeah.
And he shakes my hand, and I'm like, yeah, cool. He's like, thanks for everything. I'm like, you had a good time? Yeah, man. Like, I just wanted to say, like, you've been so great. And my name's, I can't remember. He said his name was Cole or Corey or something like that. And I was like, it's nice to meet you. He's like, it's just, you guys, it's just, and he was very, very nice and very gracious and so sloppy and repetitive. And I just kept, I kept smiling and saying, thank you so much, Corey. Like, I'm just so glad you guys came in and had a good time, and so on and so forth. And I'm just, you just shake their hand. So not only is it that he's sloppy drunk and is not going to remember any of this, and I'm just sitting there trying to be polite, but I'm also at work. So it's not like I can say, I got to go.
Yeah, I gotta wash all this shit back here so I can go home at a decent hour.
I don't know exactly. I don't know if you guys realize what you've done and how much tequila is gone.
I gotta clean all this shit up that you guys.
But I really felt there was, and just people who sit alone by themselves at bars, and then sit there and
that was me, dude. That was totally me.
Have like anyway, you're on that 5th drink, that 6th drink, and it's like. And I start thinking, and again, this is a private party, but this happens, quite often to me, where you're like, well, how many do I give this person before they get up and leave the bar? It's not it's none of my business what they do or how they go about living their lives. I just get these feelings from people, and I just see it, And I talked about it a couple of shows ago about the guy who came cruising in with a bottle of wine and ended up being this big sloppy mess. And I just was, I don't want to sit here and say I felt sorry for the guy, but I was like, because there's nothing I can do for him, know. But it was just this weird sort of, oh man, I've felt you before. I feel your pain, or I don't know. It was just really. It was just a very, it was a Super Bowl Sunday, so maybe it was a little bit different, but just this, I was just able to pick up a lot more on people's feelings, and maybe that's the experience behind the bar,
right?
And being sober, and also knowing what it's like to be that person that is having 10 vodka sodas.
Well, and in a spiritual way, you can think of it as the universe putting those things in front of you to remind you. You know what I mean? Those to remind you of the lesson you learned. The lesson you're learning.
Yeah.
It could be that the universe is like the conscious, unconscious version of the universe is placing this thing in its own subtle butterfly effect way. So that you can look at it and go, "Oh yeah." In other news, water's wet. Just like I had texted you the other morning. Right. That's what I do. Water is wet. That's me, man.
But
it's me in the corner.
It's me in the corner.
Me in the spotlight, dude. Yeah.
And it was just, everybody left, and I don't know who was driving and who wasn't, and that's a whole nother conversation that I really can't.
Right.
You can't stop people from doing what they're gonna do. I mean, I can't.
Is there Uber in Sonoma? Maybe
yeah.
they were Ubering. Police were probably out full force, dude, on America Day. Yeah, dude.
I saw them too. Not in there, but they were out cruising.
Yeah.
So, and again, I do that a lot. Where I do that a lot. Where I do take the people who come in as sort of spiritual guides, and I try to look at it that way because, again, I don't want to judge anybody who likes to go out and drink. I used to love it.
Yeah,
it used to be so much fun.
It used to be so much fun that now we do this because we can't do that. It was so much fun that it got super shitty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we overdid it.
What about I talk about the things that were not functioning in your life and the things that led you to when you quit. Well, just like with family, the stuff.
Yeah, I mean the family; those are the big obvious things, right? That's what's on the foreground in front of everybody. They can see it; they can pick up all those vibes between me and my wife, and they can pick up the fact that people who were closer who hung out with me knew that I was too hungover to take care of my kids sometimes, or to want to deal with her, or just be like, "Oh, you're peripheral; get the fuck out of my way." You're in the way of me getting fucked up. You're not part of my life experience. You're this obligation I have,
Yeah.
I mean, the people around me could pick that up, and those were the obvious things, but there were the internal things where just the veneer started wearing off, where and to get a little, I mean, fuck it, we always overshare on this damn thing, but where suicide became less of an option and more of kind of a plan, and it wasn't even I wanted to actively go out and kill myself. I just wanted to die. If I could just do it painlessly in my sleep, that would be fucking preferable. And that's when I knew that the functioning was starting to wear off. And there were the clues. There were, of course, the obvious drinking clues, where I would wake up in the middle of the night and drink whiskey. You know what I mean? I would wake up and have a shot in the middle of the night because I would be getting a hangover at 3, 4 in the morning. And the hangover would last 3 days. So I would just nurse through the hangover with booze. But yeah, there were numerous times where I'd wake up and just take a shot. And then, put that little airplane bottle back in the sock drawer or wherever I had. I mean, I didn't hide booze that much. Usually, it was the airplane drawer if I were traveling. But if I were home, I'd just go out in the pantry and pour out a shot. And boom, 3 in the morning. Just something to smooth it over.
And it never...
So I was like...
Was that ever a conversation between you and your wife?
Nah, because
Megan...
She drank when I drank, but she didn't drink like I drank.
Right.
But she came from a culture of drinking as well. We were both raised in this little town full of drunks. That was part of our thing, So to her, I don't know. I don't even know if I was that obvious getting up in the middle of the night and pouring out a shot. She could have been like, oh, he's getting up to piss again. Or he's just wandering around doing his thing. Or
if
going
you
to smoke,
smelled like whiskey, yeah.
Yeah, what's the difference? I mean, I would get up at 3 a.m, take a shot and go smoke a cigarette. It wasn't regular, but I would do it like when I knew the hangover was going to be bad. Like Super Bowl Sunday. Today's my day to let loose. Even though I had, today's my day to black out. Whereas like I had already been stumbling drunk the past 5 nights before that. Just tonight was my night to like really tear the tent pegs out of the thing and fucking black out, Oh man, and that's where I knew the functioning was. I was ceasing to function. My happiness and joy were just dead. They were buried. They were fucking gone. Fuck them. They're gone. I don't need them.
Where the thought, and I just like the way you put that. I want to reiterate where the functioning started to crumble when your thoughts of suicide began to formulate as a plan in your mind.
Oh, a plan, absolute plan, like set up, like okay, this is how I'm gonna figure this out. I was just too broke to buy a gun. That's awful. I mean, it's like, so that shit, you like your humor dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's where I knew it. So the way I always thought about it was, here I was trying to avoid my problems by drinking and having a good time, and maybe not avoiding, but putting a all liquor patch. Mm-hmm. And then eventually the cracks get bigger, dude. The patch stops working, and all that fucking darkness comes through those cracks, dude. And you just can't hide from it. Eventually, you just can't. It's there. It's like right there. It's like, here I am, dude. Like
the water starts leaking, and
yeah. Mm-hmm. So are you gonna take care of this problem, or are you gonna drown? Because you have two choices. Because you can absolutely drown. Millions of people do it every day. I don't know if that might be an inflated number, but there's a huge number of people they drown from it every day. They die of it. Yeah. And that's sad. That's like super fucking tragic. It like hurts my heart. But like, you can either, you hit that, there's not even a fork in the road anymore. It's just, there's your road. You're just on it. So you can either turn around and walk away from it, or keep doing
going,
it, man.
Till the end.
Yeah.
Another friend of ours, mutual friend, who recently she stopped drinking, and, I talked to her the other day, and she said to me she was overjoyed and overelated and so grateful and for the help, and she loved the podcast and all this stuff, and she had some really awesome things to say, but one of them was, she had a lot of great things to say, but the one I want to talk about here, since we're talking about the label of alcoholic, is she's like, I don't know if I'm an alcoholic or not. And she was not readily. She's like, but I drank every day.
Yes.
I drank every day. I drank, if it wasn't 6 drinks, it was 1 or 2 or 3, and smoke a bowl and this and that. And so
right.
I don't want to necessarily say that anybody has to you don't have to pick a label. You don't have to call yourself anything.
No. Mm-mm.
But
you don't.
But if there's,
this is just what we do.
Yeah, that there's a substance.
Because we're dramatic. We're super dramatic.
And yeah. I think that label has stigma to it, right? Alcoholic. Absolutely. Still in 2019, and
it's just like what my dad was talking about.
So
I'm in long-term recovery.
I'm in long-term recovery. And whatever works. I think that's great. I shouldn't say it so snidely, like it's better. I'm cooler to call myself an alcoholic, but
right. Like I said, we're dramatic, dude. We're Morrissey fans. We love the Smiths, dude. We listen to Depeche Mode and shit. Like, we're gonna wear it with, I guess, our own flair of like. That sounds so fucking shallow, but you don't have to put a label on it.
No.
But I know where she's coming from, though. I just drank too much, and I drank so much that my life was shitty, and I don't want it to be shitty anymore, and I don't know how to make it not shitty. That's pretty much where I was, except I was like, I'm a fucking drunk. I would be much happier drunk my entire life till I die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was at,
And the thing about it is that there can be a differentiation between calling yourself an alcoholic and saying I was drinking alcoholically. I was drinking it in the alcoholic fashion. Right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say earlier. Yeah, that's what my mind was at. See, even with functional alcoholism, right? Like, I'm a functional alcoholic could just mean that you are just a person who drinks alcoholically when you do drink. People, when they talk to me about alcoholism, they always hit me up with like, well, I don't know if I'm an alcoholic. I don't drink every single day. I don't drink all the time. And I'm like, yeah, you don't have to, dude. If you don't think you're an alcoholic, don't be a fucking don't say you're an alcoholic. Like, maybe you have a problem with it now and you need to deal with it. And once you've dealt with the problem, hypothetically, you go back out there and it's the same fucking problem over again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you may want to do some soul searching, you know. But yeah, man, it's not for me to put a label. I mean, I do it. I mean, I do it in my own car, or I do it to my wife in the living room, and I'm like, yo, that dude's a fucking alkie. You know, I can smell him from here. I can tell. Like you said, like we're like drunk Wolverines, dude. You got that super smell, you know, like you can.
Like a spidey sense or something, yeah.
Yeah, the vibe. That I don't mean like an actual physical smell of like old wine. It's in the air. I can feel you. I can feel your vibe. It's desperation is not a good word for it, but I can feel it. Like I can feel your longing. Your longing.
There's some longing and some lurking, and I see a lot of people who just are just a little too glassy eyed and like just a little too mush mouthed, and I'm like, man, you've had a couple, haven't you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You've had a couple for the past like couple years.
Yeah. I can see it before. I mean, I can feel it before they've had a couple. I can feel it on their body.
Yeah.
But it's weird though. Who am I? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, like I'm wrong about shit all the fucking time, every day. I'm absolutely wrong about most things. But
there's something that there's something. Yeah. And again, it's not that I don't seek these people out to chide them or to scold them or anything. If anything, I would say, like, unless they're going to get in my face about something, unless they're going to get in my way,
then we choke the shit out of them.
which we do not, but you know, we do, but we do not. No. And but the thing is again, it's only if you're going to affect my life in some way do I then begin to care about your behaviors, and it's just the behaviors, man. It's not the person.
Word.
You know?
And I think when I meet people like that, the empath in me, there's this part of me that wants to tell them it's going to be all right. Like, yo, you're going to be okay if once you figure it out, you know, you'll have your aha moment. You'll be all right. You just got to have your aha moment.
Yeah.
You know?
So, and you don't have to be an alcoholic to talk about recovery either.
No.
You know, so if you want,
I mean,
it's just, that's what I tell people. It's like, well, you're not sure? That's fine. I mean, do you want to be sure? Do you want? I mean, there's people you can go to talk to, and you can find out. And you know, there's the only one way to find out is to just stop drinking and see how you react to it.
Right, and that stigma's a motherfucker because you're like, especially in this culture, you're like, I can't handle my shit, and so everybody you think everybody thinks you're weak, and some people may, but fuck those people. They're not in charge of what's going on in your life. You know,
inside your head and inside your heart, and
maybe you can't handle your shit. I can't handle my shit.
I can't
That's
handle
why
mine.
Hang out in fucking church basements and sit here on this podcast with you, man, drinking coffee out of a styrofoam cup. You know, like, I can't handle my shit, and I want to learn how to handle my shit better. Like, if I'm not, you know, another analogy, like, if I wanted to ride horses, I wouldn't be pissed that the first time I got on a horse, it kicked me off, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I, like, would want to learn how to ride a horse, just like I want to learn how to live life.
If you see somebody who's riding a horse and you like the way they look, and they look good on it, and you want to be able to do that, be like, hey, how do I ride this horse? Well,
what's up? You got horse riding lessons or what?
First, you need a saddle and you need a horse.
Yep.
So
yeah, exactly. So I might be the man to have those things.
If you want to learn how to cook, man, you're gonna cut and burn yourself at least a couple of times in the process.
It's life, man. You got to figure this shit out. And so that label of like can't handle your shit might be what frees you. Who knows, man? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's one way to look at it too. Is that it's not weak. It's not weak at all. I mean I hate to quote, you know, use a Bukowski quote, but
do it though.
I think that he would enjoy recovery. I mean, I think he would enjoy a 12-step program. Got a room.
You think? Oh my God, dude, his ghost is gonna haunt your ass tonight. He's gonna pee on your bed. He's gonna throw up in your bathtub.
But no, he talks about the level of like endurance and strength it takes to be a drunk. You know, to be able to fight through those hangovers. Yes. And he writes, I could probably pick up a book. Of all the books that I've gotten rid of, I still keep his for some reason. And
so do I.
I'm hesitant to unload, you know, the tomes of alcoholic poems. And there's a lot of beautiful stuff in there too. And I like his.
Right.
But he just talks about the strength it takes. And so that strength is important when it comes to finding a path of recovery for yourself. Yes. That is the strength that you need to rely on for real this time when you decide that not only are you not going to pick up the crutch in the corner, but you're fucking putting the crutches out on the street and you're, you know, just you're done.
Throwing them out the front door.
Right out the front door. I mean,
yeah.
So I I would not call anybody weak who
No.
who is dealing with alcoholism, functioning or otherwise.
Yeah.
It's not a it shouldn't be a stigma, and I know that it is for a lot of people, but whatever gets you through the day, through the first day, the first 24 hours, and the first week, and the first year, and God knows, I mean, I still got another. I'm only 3.5 years into this. When did you were on 2014?
2014.
How old
July
were you?
4th of July. I don't even know how old I am now. I was 39. 38. I was 38.
Okay, and I think it was another thing your pop said about something about you'll begin to see all of your friends' lives implode around late 30s, early 40s.
Dude, seriously, right? Think of the pattern. Like, we hit our 20s and everybody started getting pregnant and married.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hit our 30s and people started getting divorced and remarried. And then we hit our 40s and now everyone's either getting sober or they're just getting fucking worse. You know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah, the bloat starts coming in more. You start getting a little fucking grayer and
it lives
more
on you.
Whiskey gutted. Oh, yeah, it lives on you, man. Or, you see these guys come in and they've been doing fucking yoga and drinking kombucha. I don't drink kombucha, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't either. I was always nervous because somebody told me it had booze in it, and I didn't want to be...
It's got low alcohol. Whenever I drink one, I've drank maybe 2 or 3 since I've been sober, and it tastes like an old can of beer. Like, I don't like it. It has a beer taste to it. But yeah, it's got low levels of alcohol, like real, like an NA beer, depending on what you get, I guess.
It's like...
But I don't drink NA beer either. Ew.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Heineken just put out one that was 0.0 because usually NA beer is 0.05 or something. They have like a 0.5% or something.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was like Heineken 0.0.
Beer's gross, man. That's gross. It's just cold pee. Beer's always been gross.
But I wouldn't even want one.
Beer
Why would
was
I
gross.
want? Why would I want a beer?
I want this cup of cold ass pee. That's not going to get me drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
I'm
thanks.
drinking beer to get drunk. I was usually drinking beer because it was earlier in the morning.
Yeah, kind of settle into it. Or I knew a guy and I picked this one up from him. He's like, yeah, a beer is what I drink in between deciding what I'm going to drink next.
Yes. Oh, man, I love that, man. Beer's not drinking. Yeah. But, it is what it is, I guess that's that's the way I end it.
It is what it is,
man.
So
don't drink them Heineken near beers, man. This shit's gross.
No, man, no. So if you have any thoughts about you being a functioning alcoholic, about being an alcoholic, there are tons of resources out there. You can always drop us an email or an Instagram or whatever and check us out.
Yeah. Any insight, any questions?
Please.
Not that we are able to answer questions. We're able to answer questions. We're just not really qualified to answer questions necessarily. But we'll answer them anyway.
I'll answer. Yeah, whatever you got. All I'm saying is that when you define function, what does that mean to you? How do you want to function? Do you want to function
that's
highly?
A good question.
Do you want to function well? Do you want to be a well-oiled machine, or do you?
What's up, former party people? This is Jerry. The one who actually combs his hair on the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Now, if you're finding value in listening to the AIFA podcast every week and you want to support sharing it with others, we invite you to become a sustaining monthly or per show contributor. Go to patreon.com/AIFA. It's super easy and it only takes a quick moment. It's about as easy as buying one of those pre-cooked space chickens from the grocery store, taking it outside, giving it a big old kiss, and kicking it into traffic. Why would you do that? Anyway, you do you, and I'll do me. Again, go to patreon.com/AIFA. And with that, people, let's start the show.
I want to be that Honda Civic. That 93 Honda Civic with no headlights and a busted hatchback.
No headlights. You got one headlight. You got one. But damn, dude. Really? You can drive around with one headlight? No. Everybody thinks you're a motorcycle? Fuck that.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.